Well, why are you going to tell me what they are? It was Kobe.
Cool. All right. So we are going to look at the document in front of you, the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and we're going to do it through a strategy called chunking. And chunking is where you break down a sentence, a paragraph, a big piece of text into smaller pieces, generally 3 or 4 words, to help you understand what it is they're trying to do in writing this piece. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and this may sound a little awkward, I'm just going to verbalize my thoughts as I go through this. Hey guys, could we calm down? Quiet down? Thank you. So it may sound a little awkward, but I'm actually going to think aloud as I go through it. So this is kind of what I would go through if I were doing this alone. And since I don't talk to myself out loud, I tend to do that in my head. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So we look at the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and it's called, or titled, Rights of Citizens. And the document says it was passed by Congress on June 13, 1866, ratified on July 9, 1868. So the first thing I look for there is that it was passed by Congress on June 13, 1866. I look at that chunk, and that tells me that that was right after the Civil War. So it's probably going to involve ex-slaves or former slaves. And the next thing I see is Section 1, Citizenship. And I'm going to just start breaking down the sentences. Because what I want to do next is kind of look at these larger sentences in language that we don't really use today in smaller chunks to make sense of it. So the first chunk is all persons born or naturalized in the United States. And I kind of put a line there, I like stop. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States says to me that if you're born here or you're naturalized as part of the government naturalizes you, if you're born in Haiti or England or another country, but you're naturalized, that means you become a U.S. citizen. Okay? And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That's kind of a complicated, that's like legalese when I read that. But I'm thinking if they're talking about citizens and they're subject to the jurisdiction, that means that they've got to live by the laws that are in place. So if you live in New Jersey, you're going to have certain laws that you have to follow. If you live in Virginia, you're going to have different laws, like the speed limit might be different, or the age at which you vote or can own a gun might be different, and I've got to follow those laws. Okay? And then are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, which means when I look at that you're a U.S. citizen, and in your case, you're a citizen of the state of New York. So you're subject to all the laws that are in New York. Like you've got to be in school until a certain age. You can get married at a certain age. Whatever the laws of that state. All right. So then I put another mark there. It's like it's a period that stops that thought. New one. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities. Now what I do there is I would circle the words abridge and immunities, because I'm not really sure what those mean. This again is 19th century language that we're trying to interpret in 21st century America. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge. So I got my dictionary over here and I look up abridge, and it says to make smaller or less powerful. So no state shall make or enforce any law which shall lessen the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, or immunities of citizens of the United States. That says to me,
Their
laws, whatever powers, whatever protections I have as a citizen based on those laws can't be lessened. Which is pretty powerful. You know, when you think about that as a citizen, you have rights that can't be taken away from you. Your right to schooling, your right to a fair trial, your right to get married, your right now in the 21st century to Social Security when you retire. Those rights can't be abridged or immunities taken away. So next few words. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So I underline without due process of law, because I think that's super important. That means that a cop can't come up to a citizen, or anybody can't come up to a citizen and just say, you're under arrest, and get thrown into jail. That means that you have, as a citizen, you have the right to the protections and the process of the law. Yeah, exactly. That would be part of it too. Totally. That would fall in under this. So that I think is super important, without due process of law. Nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So that's the rest of the text. Deny and equal protection of the laws. So what that's saying is, if you're a citizen, if you're given the right of citizenship, you will have these protections just by being a citizen. That's super important to me. So even though this came out, it was written in 1868, this would extend citizenship to all the former slaves. It would extend citizenship to people who left their home country and came to America, provided they went through the appropriate channels to gain citizenship. That's super important. And why this amendment in particular is important to me now is that the current administration is looking at ways to try to change this language, or make it much harder to become a citizen, or make it much harder to enter the country based on somebody's religion or orientation or where they're coming from. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Any questions? All right, let me stop this just so